Titan Quest II is an action RPG set in mythical ancient Greece where players battle Nemesis, the goddess of retribution. It's got a unique skill tree and passive and modifier system, as well as some really satisfying combat. After playing through the entire game, I've got to say, there's a lot here that I love. With more and more ARPGs coming out lately, it's getting harder for each one to differentiate itself, and I think Titan Quest II is off to a great start with this early access build that I've played. But what kind of endgame will it have? How does build crafting work? How is it going to be monetized? And what is the main thing I would change? Let's dive into all of that and more. And if the game looks fun, you can use the link down in the description of this video to pick it up for 20% off until August 8th.
And massive shout out to THQ Nordic for sponsoring this video.
When you boot up the game, you're going to be presented with this screen right here. You'll click play. The way classes in this game work are you pick two, and then the fusion of those two things is your class name. So my Stormblade is actually because I picked the Storm Mastery first, and then I picked the Rogue Mastery second, and then the game calls that combination a Stormblade. So the first thing you're going to do is click create new character. Here you're going to be presented with 32 different presets that you can choose to play as. You've got both masculine and feminine, and it's worth noting that this is a temporary system. They are going to add a character creator later on after the launch of the game, but for now you just pick the preset that you want to use, you click finalize, and then here you get to choose your name, and then you'll choose the difficulty. Neophyte is going to be very easy, and then finally you have hardcore, which works just like hardcore always does. This character is a true mortal hero with only one chance to succeed. Their death is permanent, and any gear they are carrying is lost. Okay, and then finally you've got solo self-found. Because this is a multiplayer game, it does support up to 4-player co-op. Once you've made these decisions, you're going to go ahead and start game, and then after a really impressive high quality cutscene, the game drops you into the world, and instantly you kind of feel the difference between this ARPG and all of the other ARPGs in terms of its vibe. You're starting out on this Greek island, and it's just gorgeous, and that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about the game so far is the art style. This is an Unreal Engine 5 game, and it just looks beautiful. You start out, you'll notice we never picked a class. You're going to walk up to this shrine right here just a couple minutes into the game, and then it's going to pop this screen up. This is where you choose your first mastery, and your mastery works much like a class does in any other game. So first you've got the Earth Mastery, which is going to excel at fire damage and physical damage in the way of Earth. So you'll be able to cast a magma ball at enemies, you throw it at them and it can explode. And then there's different modifiers you can put on that to make it perform differently. We'll get into modifiers in a second. They work a lot like support gems do in Path of Exile. I absolutely love them. And then you've got Rogue. Rogue is going to be excellent at physical damage, poison damage. It's got a lot of passives that improve your crit chance, your attack speed. And so Rogue ends up being really satisfying to pair with just about any other class because you can really stack up your crit chance, attack speed. You can even get some life leech in there. And then you've got Storm, which excels at ice and lightning damage. So you've got some really cool abilities in here. You can shoot ice shards at enemies. You can have Frost Nova that explodes out of you, and you can shoot tornadoes at enemies, or you can modify the tornado ability with one of its support gems, and that turns the tornado ability into a blizzard. And then you can add another modifier that adds a thunderstorm to it. So there's just so many cool modifiers that you can do to these abilities. And then finally, the last mastery that's currently in the game, with more masteries likely to be added as it goes over time. I don't think they've confirmed how many masteries they're going to add to this game. I'm not sure they even know, but their plan is to add them in future patches and future DLCs. The Warfare class is just like it looks. You've got the sword and shield. So this is going to be your melee dominant class. It's going to have passives that make you a lot tankier. It's going to have a lot of things that are just perfect for some kind of a melee hero or somebody on the front lines. When you're choosing your class, you can click the preview button right here, and you can pop in and you can see all of the abilities and all of the passives. So abilities are on the left side, passives are on the right side. And if you click on an ability, you can see the various modifiers. Each one of these modifiers acts like a support gem. So let's switch over to a character that's a little deeper into the game with both classes unlocked so we can talk about how that all works. All right, now we are on a level 16 character, which means you're about 3/4 of the way through what is in the game right now. I think if you're thorough and you play through the game, you'll end up around level 20, maybe even 22, 23 by the end of the game. Because remember, this is just the early access portion of the game. So this character is about 3/4 of the way through. I'll jump on my maxed out character after this. And then this is what our skill tree looks like right now. We are using an ability called Ring of Flame. If you're a Path of Exile player, this is going to be feeling very familiar to you. When we activate it, it looks like this. What does that remind you of? So it's got basically Righteous Fire built into the game, and we'll turn on a couple of buffs. And so the way the Righteous Fire works in this game is the skill starts out as a skill you activate, and it does a little damage over time. So let's see here. Let's take out the modifiers real quick. And when we activate it, it does a little bit of fire, it burns for a while, and then eventually it wears off. Boom. And so one of the modifiers we can pick is permanency. It turns the skill into a sustained skill, and it reserves energy as a result. And so it's going to eat some of our energy bar when we activate it now, but it's going to be active all the time. Perfect. Okay. Overload is my favorite one. As you can see here, 6% increased radius per stack of overload, 6% more damage per stack of overload. Our goal is to get more overload stacks to increase both the size of our ring of flame and also increase the damage of it. So how do we get that? Well, this ability, Roiling Magma, is a overload generator. So every time I cast it, look at that, the size of the ring goes up, right? And then if I stop casting it, that ring is going to go down. So the way this works is you're going to be running around casting your ability, which is going to both increase the AoE size and the damage of the ability. It's just a really fun play style. Not only that, but then Roiling Magma itself has a really satisfying impact when it hits enemies. It does good damage itself, oftentimes killing them. So it just feels really good. It's a really fun take on the Righteous Fire play style. Really love this one. And it is, you'll notice, the more damage it does to the enemies, the more damage it's doing to me. It's going to start eating my health, just like Righteous Fire. And the way you can combat that is by getting more fire resist, getting more lightning resist, and getting some health regen, which is what I've elected to do. And that's why I picked Warfare as my second class on this character, right? So now he's got some really nice passives that we're working our way towards that are going to increase our health regeneration to offset the damage we're taking from the skill and just turn him into an overall really tanky boy. Really fun build, really enjoying this one. I can't say enough positive things about the way that this system's working out so far. That is how your 2 masteries work. It's not quite as convoluted and expansive as Path of Exile, but it's definitely heading in a direction where it'll have more depth than Diablo 4. And then also, interestingly, you've got your core abilities where every time you level up, you're going to get some of these active points that you can spend here, and you'll get passive points that you can spend in your passives. And these passives also have something interesting going on where they have feats. So if we go into respec mode here, we take these points out, you'll notice it says at 6 points you unlock this node, and at 12 points you unlock this node here. So if we were to put 6 points, now we get to pick one of these. So we could say, hey, I am doing a lot of spell damage, so I'm going to take this 30% increased spell damage and 10% increased energy cost. That seems like a good trade-off. Boom, we slot that for an extra 30% damage. Nice. And then we get it to 12 and we get another one. And so you could pick one of these. This is a Ring of Fire build, so I don't really care about crit chance, but hey, maybe I want to increase ailment chance, right? Set things on fire with my skills, all of that, right? You could go that direction if you want to. And each point of it, you'll notice each point is leveling it up is increasing the spell damage and my character's max energy. So it's solving 2 problems for me at the same time. And then you've got a lot of these and you can dip into as many of these, all of them, none of them. It's up to you. And you can do that for both skill trees. And you'll notice this top row is not yet unlocked. Basically, as you're playing through the game, right? You'll be playing through the game, you're leveling, you're completing main story quests, some side quests, right? As you play through the game, you're going to be getting something called Divinity. And as you collect divinity points, you can put them into the tree of your choice. I did all earth first so I could unlock my Ring of Flame. And now I am putting them all into my warfare tree so that I can get some of these passives like this one here. That's going to give me health regeneration to offset that Ring of Flame setup I have going. Beyond that, you can spend your active points in another interesting way. So over here, you have this core one, right? You come here and you can put points into and support gems, or as this game calls them, modifiers. You can level this up and then you can put these in these slots as you level it up. So you can be like, hey, I want to have an extra charge of my dodge. Alternatively, you could put it into the distance you travel when you dodge. You can turn your dodge into a teleport. You can cause yourself to explode at the start and end of your dodge, right? There's some really interesting support options here. Again, making this not quite as complex as Path of Exile, but more complex than Diablo. And then you've got a barrier. Everybody gets a barrier ability. So you can pop this ability when you're heading into battle, and it's an extra layer to the ARPG. In this game, everybody has a barrier ability that you can press, just like everybody has a dodge ability that you can press. Everybody gets a barrier. And then you've got your basic attack, your primary attack that you can mess with if you want. None of my builds have really taken advantage of this one because I've been using skills more than my primary attack. Finally, you've got the attribute system in the game. In other games, you would have like dex, strength, and intelligence or something like that. In this game, it calls them knowledge, agility, and might. And the difference is you put points in here and it's telling you that your cunning and your resolve are going to go up. Well, your resolve is responsible for increasing your fire damage and your cold damage. Your cunning is responsible for increasing your poison damage and lightning damage. So with the character that I'm building that's doing a lot of fire damage, I could either put points into knowledge or might, or I could put points into both. Either way, it's going to increase my resolve, which is going to increase my fire damage, which is perfect for my ring of fire. So this would allow me to wear tankier gear. This would allow me to wear intelligence gear. And then having both of them would allow you to wear that kind of hybrid gear that kind of gives you a little bit of your battle mage feel, where it's got intellect stats as well as the strength stats, so you're a tanky mage essentially. And then finally, you can put points into vigor, which is just going to increase your health pool essentially, but it's also going to increase your resolve, your cunning, and your fitness every time you put a point into here. And then they've got a decent menu system over here where it tells you all the stats. So as you're putting stats in here, I really appreciate this. I feel like this menu system is nice looking, but I also wish I could see more and click less. Like if I'm here and I'm like, oh, what's my crit chance? Oh, I got to click on offensive, and then I've got to scroll down just because every piece of this menu is so big and bulky and it kind of feels like a console menu. So I wouldn't mind them tuning this up a little bit so that you don't have to dive into sub menus to see the stats that you're obviously going to be interested in when you are speccing into these things. That would be nice. That's a minor change I would make. And then we've got the map. Look how big this world is. So one thing that this game does that's a little bit different than, well, actually, this character has barely seen any of the world, but this world is, it's a big seamless world, and it has a lot going on in it. There's little events all over the place. There are side quests, side boss. There are quest items to find that you'll stumble into and you'll be like, oh, what do I use this for? And eventually you'll find a side quest that needs that item and vice versa. It's a big seamless world though. You can run all the way around it without hitting any load screens. Well, very few load screens. Sometimes there's a load screen to go down into a dungeon or something like that. You'll see little icons like this one right here, and you'll be able to go down into a dungeon. And then it's like a little instance where you can kill some enemies and usually find like a nice chest at the end of it. So it's open world in the way that Diablo 4 is open world, but without losing its ARPG identity in the way that Diablo 4 kind of does in its open world. This still feels like Path of Exile when you're playing in this open world, whereas Diablo 4, it doesn't really feel like Diablo 2 anymore when you're playing through its open world. So as you play through this game, you'll see markers like this for side quests, and then you'll see markers like this for your main quest that you can go and knock out as well. Like I said, I really advise if you do play this, be as thorough as possible. The game is short in terms of what's available in the launch version of this early access game. They still have a lot of content to add to the game, and I'm expecting that to really help fill it out because right now it's a pretty short experience. Now, like I mentioned, they are planning to add new content to the game every 3 months. So hopefully we'll see that really pad out the playtime of the game as they add more to it. And so I think a really normal reaction that people are going to have is that, hey, what's here is awesome, but why didn't they wait till they had more before releasing it? And their response to that is that they want to develop this game with the input and the feedback of the community at heart. And so they don't want to get too far in before asking for everyone's feedback to then find out, oh man, they love this, we should have done more of that, or they hate this and we should have done less of that. They're hoping to get a lot of feedback that allows them to build the game with the community as opposed to build it and then ask them what they think at the end. Now, interestingly, a big question everybody always has when one of these games come out is it going to be pay to win, right? Because then the game's dead on arrival for most people. Or is it going to be buy to play, or is it going to be supported with cosmetic microtransactions? Like, which approach are they going to go? And Titan Quest's plan is to be a buy to play premium game. So they want you to buy the game, and then it's going to come with all the stash tabs you need, all the cosmetics you need, no microtransactions at all. You just buy it once, you play it forever, and then they'll possibly add DLCs that they sell separately later on. Now, the game is launching into early access here in August. So when is the final release? They are saying they're shooting for the end of 2026. So a little over a year from now to get from early access to 1.0. The main things that they still need to add to the game that aren't here right now are an end game, right? Because there's no end game in this game. There kind of is, and this is what that looks like. So you've got these rituals that you can do here at this shrine, and you can use remnants. So you kill a boss, it drops its remnant, and then you can come here and you can say, use remnant. Boom. I just used it, and it says fate remembered. So now, when I open the map, I can go to this boss that I fought earlier, and I can walk up to this memory nut, pay a fee, and it'll summon the boss that I've already killed so that I can basically farm it on repeat if I want to. Maybe it has an item I really want, and so I pay a little bit of gold, I kill the boss, it drops it or it doesn't, I pay a little gold, I kill the boss again. That's as close as we've got to an end game in this game right now. And essentially, the end game in this game right now is kind of like a Diablo 2 end game where you play through the act and then you can farm the bosses on repeat to try to get better gear. That's the main thing that they still have to add to the game. They also still need to add a crafting system. That's in the works. They're planning on releasing that here shortly after it enters into early access as well. Multiplayer is already in the game for early access. However, it is still being fleshed out. So if you dive into multiplayer and co-op on day one, you may encounter some bugs. They're working on those and they're hoping to have them fleshed out really quickly. Now, this is a big seamless world, so some people might be wondering, are they going to have mounts or pets like Diablo? No, not right now. They're planning to not have mounts because they feel like it messes with the traversal that you experience in ARPGs. So they're going to take more of a Path of Exile 2 approach here and go without mounts. Instead, you've got a number of mobility abilities that you can use to get around. I think I'm using 3 different mobility abilities on my highest level character. I've got a teleport, I've got my dodge roll with some modifiers on the dodge roll that make me run faster after I use it. And then I've got another ability that just gives me 30% move speed. I think even more than that actually with some of the modifiers I put on that ability. And so I end up zooming around pretty nice for not having a mount. If you're one of the 3 people that was hoping there would be PvP in this game, I'm sorry, there's not going to be PvP. All of the isometric PvPers are already playing League of Legends and Dota, so ARPGs are just not really incentivized to put that into their games. As far as what the endgame will look like when they add it, they said that, and I quote, "The endgame will feature dynamic and repeatable experiences to strengthen your character after completing the main content. We will provide updates to the community during early access as we shape this together." So basically they gave you the most broad definition of an ARPG endgame. You could apply that to any ARPG's endgame ever. So not a lot to say there yet from the devs, but I'm really curious to see what they put together for the endgame in this game because I'm loving this first 10 hours of content or so that they've put in here. Now, earlier I mentioned that they're not going to be selling cosmetics. At least that's the plan. They're not planning to have microtransactions, which means they're not going to sell you cool looking gear, which means, well, is there going to be a transmog system? They say yes, they are working on adding a transmog system and a crafting system to the game. Although they are not going to be here at launch, they're going to be added in one of the subsequent patches during early access. Okay, so let's just go through a little bit of combat on this character, and then I'll hop over to my other character, show you a little bit of combat on a mage instead of a righteous fire build. And this is a level 16 character, so this build is not fully online. You know, my cast speed is slow. My health is melting because I don't have all the defensive mitigation and the health regen that I want to have. So it starts going down pretty fast if I'm not watching it with potions and stuff. But build's coming together nicely. Now, this is my main character. And when I log in now, it says, "Congratulations, hero. You've conquered all currently available main story quests and Titan Quest 2's early access. Your legends now grow." And then it says you can keep on exploring to try to find anything that you missed. So then there's this character, which you can see has a lot more cast speed, right? It looks like we're a little bit farther along than we were on the other character. Things are melting, and this is with the game cranked up to the hardest difficulty possible right now. So these guys are taking a little bit longer than they normally would if I didn't have it set to make them all 5 levels higher than me. But yeah, this is about as powerful as I can make this character right now without farming the bosses to try to maybe get one of the 20 uniques they said they have in the game. Right now, this character is not taking advantage of any of the uniques. I did find a couple of uniques, but none of which were applicable to the build I was using. So they're there, but they are also pretty rare to come by in the current version of the game. And I'm really curious to see what kind of uniques might be out there that I haven't found yet that I could take advantage of in my builds. And so I'm eager to grind some of these bosses out a little bit and see what I can get. This build came together really well, and so I'll probably put out a build guide for this one because I was really happy with it. And maybe when I finish the Righteous Fire build, I'll put something out for that as well because that one's been really fun. It just needs to get a little bit more cast speed, a little bit more survivability, and then it's going to feel excellent. But this one has just been melting bosses. and melting the enemies. It's just really fun to play, and it moves really fast because we've got lots of mobility with the 2 different teleports. We've got the multiple dodges, and then we've got this ability right here, which causes us to move way faster, but also deal even more damage to the enemies coming at us. So just a really fun build altogether. All in all, I think that this is a fantastic foundation for another ARPG to be added to our cycle of ARPGs that we're playing every 3 to 4 months. They're doing a lot of things right. Most importantly, the combat feels good. It feels great on the classes that I've played, and it has a good sense of progression of going from I'm still killing things at low levels, but it's a little bit slow, it's a little bit clunky, but then you sort out the attack speed, you sort out the move speed, you sort out your survivability, and it just starts to feel really good, really fluid. And I'm only level 24 on this character. The combat's just feeling amazing now. So they've got the hardest piece figured out. So now they just need to add more acts. They need to add in more boss fights. They need to add in the end game that follows those things. And this is going to be a really solid ARPG. I'm really excited to follow this one as it releases new content every 3 to 4 months here after this. But what do you guys think about the game? The developers will almost certainly be reading the comments on these videos, checking to see what people like, what they don't like, and everything like that, so they can take that feedback into mind. Leave some comments for them. Let them know what you want to be added to this game. What's the thing it has to have for it to be one of your favorite ARPGs? And also, if you have any questions for me, let me know. I'll answer anything about the game that I can. Just leave a comment down below.
And Titan Quest 2 is out now in early access. You can currently get 20% off until August 8th.
If you're not sure what to do next, maybe watch my Titan Quest 2 build guide. If it's up, I'll put the link down in the description for that as well. Until that video gets up, maybe check out one of these videos popping up on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.